I wanted to play around a little bit with the image generation and take a look at what we have. I asked ChatGPT to create a Victorian-style painting from the above narrative that depicts the major events. And it did a pretty decent job. I mean, this definitely looks like those Victorian-era Gothic painters. Welcome back to Kili's AI Paranormal Research. This is our third episode on vampires. And I want to start off with something very, very simple for this one. Let's take a look at why is Vlad Tempest considered the template for the modern vampire myth? And I think this is a pretty well-known story. Vlad Tempest, also known as Vlad the Third Dracula, is often considered a key historical figure in the modern vampire myth because of the unique convergence of name, reputation, and folklore. So let's take a look at where the name Dracula comes from. Vlad was the son of Vlad II Dracul, a member of the Order of the Dragon, a chivalric order dedicated to defending Christianity against the Ottoman Empire. Dracul means dragon, which also from Romanian could mean devil. Dracula means son of the dragon and devil, which carried a sinister supernatural ring. The ominous name gave Stoker a really ready-for-made title, and the suggestion of his demonic ancestry. Yeah, this is pretty clear. Reputation for extreme cruelty. Now, here's where I believe the two myths don't converge, because although Dracula hunts his prey and he considers humans prey, he's not, I don't remember him being cruel and torturous. He bites the necks and drains the blood, often sometimes giving them immortality, which you could argue is cruel. However, we're talking heads on spikes, torturing of his adversaries. Blood and punishment in folklore. Some chronicles claim that Vlad dined amongst his impaled victims, occasionally dipped bread in their blood. Not healthy. Let's just go there and leave it there, I suppose. Whether or not this is propaganda, these lurid stories linked blood consumption to his persona. So vampires as a myth existed before Vlad Tempest, but I could see why those would clearly assign the properties of a vampire to someone like Vlad Tempest. The geography and timing: Vlad ruled Wallachia, the region steeped in Slavic and Balkan vampire legend. Western Europe was fascinated by these exotic frontier lands between Christian and Ottoman worlds, viewing them as mysterious and dangerous. And in our first episode, we dove a little bit deeper into that. Bram Stoker's research: while he never visited Romania, he read about Vlad in English histories and incorporated selective details. He borrowed the name Dracula and a few historical notes about Transylvania. So I love the summary here. I think it says it all. His name suggested demonic heritage. His brutality and blood reputation matched vampiric imagery. He ruled in a region rich with vampire legends, and his life was sensationalized in Western propaganda and literature. All right, so let's try something else. So we're going to jump ahead here because the next two prompts took some generation that I feel dead air on a TV show, which is not the greatest thing. But if you remember from our first episode, we were presented with the account of Petra Blagoivich, and I wanted to know a little bit more about that. And in the early 18th century, in the small Serbian village of Kislova, became the center of one of Europe's early documented vampiric panics centered on the widow, Petra Blagoivich. She also went by another name.
According to reports from 1725, within 8 days of her death, 9 villagers mysteriously succumbed to illness after claiming that Blagoyovich had visited them at night, pressing on their chests and draining their lives. Their surviving villagers alleged that she demanded food from her family after her death, and when denied, attacked them. Driven by fear, locals petitioned Austrian authorities, who dispatched an officer and a priest to investigate the matter. They exhumed her body and drove a stake through her heart. They claimed that her corpse was unnaturally well preserved, flesh, blood around her mouth, beneath her fingernails, and they all interpreted this as vampirism. So this was the documented case which I was referencing from our earlier episodes. Now, what I wanted to do here, I wanted to play around a little bit with the image generation and take a look at what we have. I asked it to create I asked ChatGPT to create a Victorian-style painting from the above narrative that depicts the major events. And it did a pretty decent job. I mean, this definitely looks like those Victorian-era Gothic painters. Take a look for yourself. The depiction of Petra Blagoivich's Exhumation. I mean, all the hallmarks are there. The priest delivering what I assume would be last rites. People overseeing the event. Finally, for our run on vampires, at least our first run on vampires, I wanted to take a look at the historical influence of vampires, empirical perspectives, on folklore and events. Now, I generated this prompt, wrote it, I should say, and most of the prompts I use, I'm just going to give away in the description, but sometimes gotta figure out a way to pay the bills. So this one's going to be available in my prompt-based channel, which will be linked in the description. However, take a look at what it did. It absolutely did as I asked, which was to generate a full 5-page essay on the effects of the vampiric folklore in culture and cultural identity. It's a pretty interesting read. I didn't specify a grade level or type of voice I wanted it to use, which you can do. But it even gave me, I asked for resources that use the scientific method exclusively, and it did exactly that. And then it asked me if I would like to generate this in a properly formatted MLA or PDF document. I was able to create the PDF document right here. You could see that it did exactly as I asked. It is a fully realized academic paper based on the prompt I wrote. Now, I was unable to generate the MLA Word document or docs types. I did try and have it created, but I ran out of data for the day. I don't know. I'm trying to use the free version of ChatGPT. For any of you who want to try this stuff out, you should have the same success as I have. I know at some point, the deeper I go into this research, I will probably have to upgrade my data type. But for now, that's it. That's our stuff on vampires. I think it's good stuff. Until next time, don't look under your bed.